I wasn't quite sure what to title this video, whether it be making peace with cleaning or how to clean when you just don't feel like it. Maybe you're kind of going through a slump or, we're all tired at the end of the day. But I feel like I've really turned things around with my attitude and approach towards cleaning, and some of that it just takes time to learn, figuring out what systems work for you. But I wanted to share some tips that have really just retrained my brain and how I think about cleaning and force myself to do it whenever I don't want to. So, the first tip of advice I can give you is you're not going to want to hear it, okay? But it's acceptance. Acceptance, acceptance, acceptance. The dishes will always have to be done. The floor will always have to be vacuumed. If you can just wrap your head around the fact that chores are not going to leave you. They will be with you to be done for, the rest of your life. So you just have to accept it to kind of move on with it of, if I don't do this now, I still have to do it later. So you choose like 5 minutes doing it now or spending 2 hours doing it on the weekend because you let everything pile up. That has really kind of helped turn it around of, I'm not getting out of this just to do it now. I still am going to have to do it later. So why not just go ahead and do it right now? So the second tip I have for you is to set a timer. So I like to just set the timer where it's visible, like using my oven timer or a microwave timer just so I can see it. There's 2 reasons why I like to do this tip. And the first one being, it dates back to my mom when I was a little girl growing up, where she would tell me, okay, 15 minutes, you're going to go clean your room and what's done is done. And so sometimes we need that extra push whenever we're lacking motivation to clean and take care of business, is just setting a timer. It doesn't have to be for a long time. I will say sometimes I set like an hour timer on the weekend if things have piled up. But for the most part, you can set a 15-minute timer just to give yourself that light at the end of the tunnel where it's like, all right, when the timer goes off, I'm done. What's done is done. I'll worry about it tomorrow, but at least I did something today that worked towards cleaning my house and getting it back in order. And I will also say sometimes it tricks you into doing a little bit more than you originally had planned, because maybe you're in the middle of doing dishes or towards the end of it and the timer goes off. And now that you're moving, you kind of have more energy to continue finishing your task or move on to a different one. Sometimes just the hardest part is getting up to do the thing, right? And I will say another reason that I love this tip is because I wanted to really know, how long does it take me to do X? How long does it take me to do Y, Z? I really wanted to put things in perspective of sometimes we make it seem like in our head that this chore is going to take us forever, when in reality we set that timer, we let that baby go, and it takes us 5 minutes or less to do that thing. So that has been really helpful, is just understanding that you do have time for it. It's probably not going to take as long as you thought, especially if you maintain your home, right? We're not letting things getting out of hand. If you are, go back to tip 1 or stick around for the rest of the tips. So piggybacking off the last tip about setting a timer, believe in the power of a quick 5-minute pickup, and you can adjust it depending on your needs, your family, all of that. But the power of a 5-minute pickup, oh my gosh, does it do wonders. Like, we're not even talking cleaning, right? Nothing like a deep clean like some of what you're seeing in this video, but just picking up. It makes you feel so much better when you wake up in the morning and everything is off your island or your kitchen counters are wiped clean. Like, I think most of us can say we can devote 5 minutes to doing something. So the next tip I have for you is to prioritize the chore that means the most to you, in the sense of the benefits when it's done. Like, none of us, I don't want to say none of us, I'm sure there's people out there that just love cleaning. I wouldn't say I'm one of them. I'm just more accepting that it has to get done. But we all, I think, can say we love the benefits. We love the aftermath of a clean home. And so you have to figure out, maybe you and your husband or your wife or your family has to figure out, what is the chore that means the most to us? So for my husband specifically, it's that the island is clear. He loves himself a clear island. So that is one thing I try to prioritize when I am cleaning, because that's the first thing he sees when he walks in the house. So I can understand how at first glance you're coming home to your safe zone and just being overwhelmed by the visual clutter. So his is the island. I would say mine, either the floors, because we have 2 dogs and they bring in grass. I just feel like even if I just sweep the floors, not even mopping, it just feels so much better, like we're not living in a barn. I will also say that getting into bed at night that is already made is amazing. I am not super great about making the bed in the morning. It hasn't been a habit I've formed yet. That is on my to-do list for 2024, is to get that habit down, because every time I put fresh sheets on and the bed's made, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could be living like this every night, right? But I just haven't gotten into the habit. So figure out what means the most to you. And the next tip I have for you is to schedule a day for a specific task. So you might argue with me on this one, and everyone is different, so it could apply to different chores. But the best example I can give you, at least for my family, is I tend to do laundry one day out of the week, and it's usually on Sundays. I have tried doing, a load. We don't really have enough clothes to do a load every day because we don't have kids, but I have tried to do it throughout the week, like gradually, so it doesn't build up on the weekend, but it makes me feel like I'm constantly doing laundry and it's just never ending, which I get it, acceptance, right? But for me, that just doesn't work. I don't want to do laundry 7 days a week. I want to be able to do it one day, even though it's going to be a pile. But let's be honest, laundry doesn't even take that long to do. You pop it in, you wait for it, and you fold it. It's not a time-consuming task. But I just want to be able to do it in one day and be done with it. So that's my 2 cents there. So my next tip, you really have to take some consideration into what stage of the chore is causing the issue. So the issue of it not getting done or of it building up. An example for this that has totally changed, at least our dish game, was at what part of dishes getting done are we breaking down? Like, what is causing them to pile up? And the first answer to that was not unloading the dishwasher, right? Because if we have clean dishes just sitting in there, then we're not rinsing our plates and immediately putting them into the dishwasher because there's still dishes in the dishwasher. So that is a task we just had to really prioritize of, hey, when the dishes are done, get them out of there so we can put them directly into the dishwasher without stacking the sink. Another thing, which this is going into my next tip, is making your house work for you and not the other way around. So finding systems, and this relates to dishes as well. So exciting. But our dishes, aside from, I figured out what part of the chore we were breaking down at, right? It was the dishes being, the clean dishes staying in the dishwasher. So I fixed that. But the dishes were still piling up in the sink, okay? So it's like, oh, well, maybe it wasn't that. Well, what changed that was we have a sink that has 2 sides to it. What would happen is, because I have 2 basins to load dishes into, they would get stacked in one side, and then when that side was full, they would start stacking in the other side. And it was like having one of those basins empty gave me more room to stack the dirty dishes versus just doing them. So with that, I bought a in-sink drying rack. With this being said, having a place eliminating the space to stack dishes, it required me to be very on top of doing the dishes. And I don't know, that has just been the biggest game changer. This sounds like such a crazy topic. I feel so weird talking about this stuff, but it's like adulting at its finest, right? Like, we find joy in the mundane and also just the homemaking aspect of our lives. And the last tip I'm going to leave you with is, sometimes it's not about the systems. It's not about the lack of time. Sometimes you just simply have too much stuff. If you are constantly picking up stuff and it just seems like it's unbearable, like it is just this mountain that continues to grow, it's a never-ending task, then you simply just have too much stuff. And at that point, you really got to do some work on declutterizing and minimizing, downsizing, all the things, because the thing is, if you have less stuff, there's less stuff to pick up. So that is honestly, the best tip of, if all else fails, just go back to this last tip of understanding you might just have too many things in your home. So I might do a whole separate video on that, but I hope you enjoyed today's video.